Hey, it's Matt Malone, and we are doing a really cool thing where we have conversation with some special guests around the area around Southwest Michigan. And our special guest here today is one who is being all that he can be. As he said when we first started, he is somebody who I can definitely say from my short time with being able to talk with him, he's a guy that is on a mission, and he is a hard worker. So Sergeant First Class Lockett is with us here. And Sergeant First Class, let's first talk about the title, Sergeant First Class. Now, that's not something that you just walk in and you get, right?
No, absolutely not.
So tell me a little bit about what your role is. What do you do with the United States Army? And then, is that how you started? How did you start?
Oh man. Well, I grew up in. Well, first and foremost, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you, Matt, having me on the show, and this is definitely my first time going about it this way. But I've always told the Army story, and that's what we call it. Initially, I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and I had a I had a scholarship to run track. I was good at the 800, the 4x1, and an Army recruiter was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And I was like, you know what? Everybody was getting out of class to take a test, and I'm optimistic, so I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I took the test, and coming to find out, he was like, "What would you like to do?" And I was like, "Well, it's always hot outside, and what can I do to keep me cool?" And he was like, "The medical field." And so I decided to go into the pharmaceuticals. And so basically, I'm like a pharmacy technician in the Army. And a quick background, I have an older brother. He's in the Army as well. We've both been in about 18 years in September. We both joined together. And my father, he retired from the Army. And I also have a mother that she did over like 15 years in the Army as well. And so, but how I got here, wow. It's a long story. I don't even know if we have that much time, but I am an Army recruiter, and I volunteered to do that. One of the things is to give back to my community because it's been so good for me. So I don't know if there's a little bit more in depth that you would want with from that.
I think that's a great answer. I
Yeah.
think that, the fact that it's a family thing, that's kind of what, I think a lot of people can relate to, not only, from a parental standpoint, but from a sibling standpoint is
Yeah.
pretty cool. And do you compete at all with your brother at all? And, anything like that?
Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, it's always he's in the pharmacy field as well, and we're always trying to see who can make rank the fastest. I beat him, so it's pretty cool, and he's older than me, so that was pretty cool. But it's always a competition, and we always saw recruiters around. Growing up in Orlando, Florida, you have all of the branches: Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. You have everything out there, Air Force, and all the recruiters. One of the biggest things that made me want to join is like, you always saw them in nice houses and in nice cars, and they always had a smile on their face. And I was like, man, if they can do it, they're smiling, and my father is, so why can't I?
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that as a career of pharmaceuticals, and that just is kind of a cool way to just showcase that there are so many options when it comes to the Army. You have this mentality sometimes because of
Hmm.
cartoons or whatever, where it's
Yes,
somebody on a conveyor belt and they just go by and they put a uniform on and they go to the end of the conveyor belt and everybody's doing the same thing, but that's not the case.
absolutely not.
So what are the opportunities that are available?
Wow. There's over 150 careers, and I could go on and on. The other day, we had a young lady. She was interested in law enforcement. She took the test. It's called the ASVAB. And after she qualified, we were like, hey, we do have available. Of course, and it's just like any other organization, companies that whether they have the jobs available right then and there. Everybody thinks that we can just choose a job, and as long as they qualify for it based off of their test, and as long as the job is available. Anyway, so back to the young lady. She wanted to be a military police, basically the same thing as a police officer. And what came up was paralegal. And so she was just like, so I can go to school to be a paralegal? And we're like, yes, you can go to school to be a paralegal. And so she was like, wow, that just opened up her doors in terms of, thinking as far as she wanted to be a lawyer. We have criminal investigations division, which they do like drug operations, deal with sexual assault, armed robbery, deaths, firemen, helicopter repairmen, working on Black Hawks. I don't know if you remember that movie Black Hawk Down,
I
right?
do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, UH-60s, a Black Hawk. And recently, I just selected a job for an applicant yesterday to be an LPN, and he can pursue his career and go into like the registered nurse program and eventually be like a nurse practitioner. All of those things are available.
That's incredible. And another cool thing about it too, you think about those people who maybe are really good at video games, we'll say, right? But they don't
Yes.
really know how that's going to translate to a career. The future of technology with the U.S. Army, I mean, having drones that are out there
Yes,
and flying those around, that's an option too.
it is. It definitely is.
Wow. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it kind of leads perfectly into, kind of a mantra that y'all have is not producing cookie cutter soldiers. So when you say that, when you talk about that in the form of recruitment, what
Mhm.
exactly do you mean by that?
Well, we don't in any organization, we don't want to. We want to look for applicants that can develop to become soldiers with like ingenuity, be able to like multitask, take leadership roles, stay motivated, and continue to strive for excellence. And so that's just really what it is. Like everybody thinks that you have to, when you join, you're going to be doing this, do as I say, and become a robot. The biggest thing is that we have an opportunity to give them leadership positions, and everybody has the same end goal. And so however you develop that, we'll give you different courses of actions on how you can complete that. And if you do so, then that's, we appreciate that. That's the biggest thing.
So with, obviously completing that, you had a lot of good phrasing in there in regards to, what you're wanting to build, people to, and maybe even saying self-confidence and empowerment. Are there any other words or phrases or characteristic traits that come to mind that you feel somebody who might be thinking about, joining the Army would find themselves developing along their journey?
Oh man. For me, it was being able to speak in front of people. I didn't know I didn't know I had an opportunity. I was an instructor at a pharmacy schoolhouse as well. That was one of the things that I was able to do. Um, I don't know. Like there's so many traits that someone can develop while they're in there. I mean, you're meeting people from all over the world with different leadership roles, different cultures, ethnic backgrounds. So I mean, it's like going to college in a melting pot of a city.
Sure. Find out what those traits and those skills are that you have and just push them to their limits and keep growing.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
So with this, obviously one of those traits and one of those skills might be, we'll say, thinking on the fly, being able to maneuver different situations to overcome obstacles. And obviously COVID-19 and the pandemic has been a huge obstacle. So how have you and your organization, your group, really adapted to recruiting through a global pandemic?
Oh, that's been when I first decided to be a recruiter, I was like, man, this is going to be easy. I love to talk to people. I'm so passionate about it. Um, there's so many obstacles that we go through. I can honestly say that it's been a struggle dealing with adapting to the recruitment procedures. And the biggest thing is being able to get into the school, get into the colleges. What I found, what made me want to join is because when I met someone who was in the Army, I recognized, I was like, wow, they're a real person. They love the type of music that I love. Uh, they do the things that I want to eventually do, go to travel to the places. So we don't have those opportunities to get on campus within the high school. So we're required to, go through social media. One of the biggest things is like talking to students on Facebook, applicants on Facebook. And as a matter of fact, on Thursday, I'm going to go to not go to a school. I'm going to do a virtual interview through Zoom at one of the high schools, and basically talking to them about my Army story and things that I'm interested in, and just bring everything to their attention. Any questions that they would like to ask.
I want to ask then before we jump into the, how do we get more information? Because I think that's a lot of people are probably thinking that right now. How do I learn
Yes.
more? But I want to know. You mentioned your Army story a couple times, so I want to know from your Army story what is maybe the biggest highlight for you from your story.
The traveling. The My youngest son was born in San Antonio, Texas. I have an older son that was born in Germany. I mean, I've traveled everywhere. I've lived in Hawaii for 3 years. I used to live in Honolulu. Just being able to get off of work, go down to the beach. I've lived when I moved to Germany, being able to, I mean, I think my first, you remember that movie, The Sound of Music?
Yes.
And the first place, that's in Innsbruck, Austria. And the first place I went to travel, as soon as I got to Germany, I went right there the first weekend I was there. Been to Paris, Croatia, London, everywhere. And so I really want to say, like, that's the biggest highlight, being able to have memories. And I mean, I've been in almost 18 years in September. So I really got about 2 years and I retire. So I don't know, we want, you know, when you talk about a highlight, to be able to receive a you know, a check for the rest of my life, being able to serve my country with pride, and it was great. You know, so many memories.
I think that's really amazing that you listed off just a ton of things.
Yes.
And you've been in for 18 years, and it feels like you've been in for 40 with all the places that you've been able to travel and live and experience. So I think that's amazing. So if anybody, you know, is interested in, you know, traveling as a career, the U.S. Army has those opportunities for you. So if we wanted more information, you mentioned Facebook is a great resource for you. What are some other resources?
Well, definitely, we're here at 1355 Mall Drive down in Benton Harbor. Another, just look for your local recruiter. Being able to go on Google, you can even, it's easy, you know, just type in recruiting, you know, Army recruiting. Go on goarmy.com, and it'll ask you for like your zip code, and just go on from there. You know, like, don't hesitate. I say be optimistic, see what's available. It's done wonders for me, you know, and that's the biggest thing that we try to bring to their attention. See what you can offer yourself, you know, serve your country and it'll serve you.
Absolutely. Well, before we end this, I want to make sure that I start, or say at least, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done for our country and you continue to do. And I know you'll continue even after retirement, whenever you decide that to be.
I'm gonna come work for you.
There you go. Hey, I'll get you the application. All right.
All right.
All right. Sergeant First Class Lockett, thank you again very much. And we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Yes, it has been a pleasure. I appreciate it so much.
Me too. Thank you. It's 20 in a row, 97.5 Y Country.